Hello, 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 everybody. This is Beth Worsdell, author, and I'm here with Taralynn. Hello, darling.
Oh,
Firstly, Tara, do you prefer Taralynn or Tara?
either's fine. I go by Tara or Taralynn, so either's fine.
See, I'm English, so we don't say Tara, we say Tara. Is that all right? I better ask because it's just going to keep coming out of my mouth.
Oh, it's fine. It honestly, Tara's fine too. It's okay.
Now, firstly, I want to apologise to everybody for the delay. I am so sorry. The weird thing is that I was Skyping with my sister earlier and I had no issues at all. It's crazy. So I'm just going to quickly share us. I hope you don't mind. I'm just going to quickly share us with the Writers Rock group and the Writers Readers group.
Sure.
Just so they can join in. So that's the Writers group. That's done. I'm sorry about this, Tara.
Okay.
Unfortunately, as most of our viewers already know, I can't do it until we're live. So bear with me. There we go. Wanda is on hand to approve it, which is great. And we should get some nice comments up on the screen as well. Let me just make sure that everybody sees that. Okay, post. Done. I've shared everywhere.
Wonderful.
I know I'm getting quite proficient with this sharing malarkey. Thank you so much for joining me, Tara. Now, tell our viewers, whereabouts are you?
I live in the Austin, Texas area. I've kind of been born and raised here, moved around a little bit, but settled back down here.
So it feels like home.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And I'm hiding in my bedroom because my kids are here and I wanted to be possible.
I know that feeling well because I've got 4 children myself, although I've got 3 older ones and one who's just hit 16, which is making me feel very old right now, Tara. I've got to tell you.
I'm not ready for it. My oldest is 12 and my youngest is 7, and it's already too much. I can only imagine.
I feel for you. I've been there, done it. We've got Tracy who's joined us. Hi, Tracy. Thank you for joining in, darling. We've already got viewers, so if you've got any questions for Taralynn while we're doing the interview, please put them up. Obviously, I won't interrupt Tara as she's talking, but as soon as I get a moment, I can input and ask any questions. And Tara says, so nice to hear your voice.
Ah.
I love my peoples. I love my angels. They're all fantastic. Now, Tara, obviously we're both mums with children.
Yes.
It's very tough, isn't it, to try and have a career as a writer and juggle a home and juggle kids, you know, no matter what age they are, because whoever said it gets easier as they get older lied. So do you just wing it and try and write where you can, or do you try and structure your writing time?
I actually just went through a huge experience last year. Of course, the first book is always, I feel like, this beautiful transcendent kind of experience, and everything flows freely and beautifully. And especially in a series, as you know, you start writing the second one and life kicks in, and it's a little bit harder to kind of push through. And on top of writing and the kids and everything, I also have a full-time job that I love. And
oh my gosh.
there, and I take pride in that too. So it is a lot of balancing and remembering that while you want to write professionally, you can't do so if you're maxed out. Yeah. And I had a timeline for my second book that I've kind of just had to accept was a little too eager. And
optimistic.
Yeah, honestly, just make sure that it's going to be the best possible second in the series instead of, just pumping it out and praying that it worked. So it's been a learning experience. I do a lot of my writing at night once the kids are in bed. That just kind of tends to be, I feel like my work is settled, the kids are settled, the house is quiet, and then I can kind of explore that. And I use music during the day to kind of keep myself in a creative mindset and think about scenes and how they're going to work and the emotion I want, and even the pacing of different things. So
yeah, it's tough, isn't it? And I do feel for you. I mean, I feel like just keeping up with my housework is a full-time job. I don't know how you fit in a full-time job and your housework and everything else. It is crazy trying to fit it all in, and you're absolutely right. It's very easy to try and set what you think is a realistic goal, and then life just gets in the way.
Absolutely. Yeah. My middle son has a heart condition. So we've learned a lot as he's grown about life expectations and kind of, you know, what can come up. And, you know, he takes precedent, and he had his second operation we were waiting on last fall. And after that, we kind of felt a little bit of a release of, okay, now what are we going to do? You know, how are we going to handle life a little differently and relax a little bit? So, yeah.
Oh, and how is he doing now? Is he doing okay?
Doing super. Yeah. He's just down, being all crazy, and almost 9. So yeah, he's doing great.
Kids are so resilient, aren't they? Sometimes I think they teach us a lesson in how to just pick ourselves up and get on again.
They do. He's like that. Yeah,
that's absolutely amazing. Now, obviously, I mean, you're a new author to me. Obviously, I mean, I don't read all genres because I'm human. We all have our things that we do like, and also I honestly have so little time to read because like you, whenever I get spare time, I'm trying to write.
Yes.
So you can only do one thing or the other, can't you? If you've got free time, you can either read a book or write one. So tell us about your book and the inspiration behind it. I mean, obviously I know you're working on book 2, but tell us all about book 1.
Sure. I'm going to hold it up here. Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry. Are we good to go?
We're good. Oh, and Tracy says it's BAM here in Australia. Oh, BAM. No glasses. 8 a.m. I thought that said BAM. Oh, and Sanjay's joined us from England. Hi, Sanjay. I haven't seen him in ages. Sanjay, you're just about to find out about Tara's fantastic book. I'm all ears.
So King Unveiled, I'll hold it up here.
Oh, hold it up close because the cover's beautiful.
Thank you.
That is gorgeous. Do you know what? I love the fact that you've got the 2 images, top and bottom, and they're so stunning.
Yeah, she did a brilliant job. It took us a while to kind of figure out
It's
me to art what I wanted and to kind of fit it all in the same book. But the DNA strand here is super important because that's kind of a big part of the premise of the book.
Right.
It started as I wanted to write a young adult book with a love triangle that didn't have any jealousy in it, which sounds a little different because usually the trope like leans into that a lot.
Yeah.
The heroine to fall for guys that respected her, that didn't treat her like an object. Not that we read all types of books, and I love triangle tropes, but so often that's kind of the main premise of it.
Yeah.
Back and forth over her. So in this case, I put just as much emphasis into Bria, who's the heroine, and David and John, who are the love triangle interests.
Ooh.
And their relationship is just as important as each relationship with her.
Right.
And kind of spun off of the story of King David of Israel. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that.
Yes.
Okay, so David was supposed to be king of Israel. There was a current reigning king. His son, John, kind of befriended David, even though he was next in line to be king.
Yeah.
And kind of developed a mutual respect and appreciation for putting their country first and putting jealousy and all those things aside. So instead of them vying for a crown, they're vying for Bria's heart and for her grandfather's company, which without giving away too much, because it's told in first person. As she discovers things, so does the reader. But basically, a company, and there's global assassins, there's armies, there's DNA differences going on in different people, and she doesn't know any of this is going on around her in the beginning of the book, and things unfold and she finds out more and more about this whole world she didn't know existed, all at the same time, of course, because she's young, worrying about, you know, which boy she likes the most and all those fun things. So
that sounds absolutely amazing. And I'll tell you what, I love stories where you find out things as the hero or heroine does. I love that because it makes you feel like you really are on their adventure.
Yeah, that's very much. In the beginning, it comes off as I kind of leaned into the love triangle trope and leaned into those things. And in the beginning, I think people are like, well, I don't understand, you know, the DNA. I don't see where the science fiction part is. And so much of that comes later, and especially on into book 2 and stuff, because she doesn't know, you know.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a Gossip Girl meets Hunger Games meets Shatter Me kind of vibe. And in the beginning, it's a lot more Gossip Girl.
Oh, you've got me hooked up already. You know what? I was looking on Amazon and everything, because obviously when I'm doing an interview, I look at the authors as a reader would, because it helps me, you know, think of questions I want to ask that possible readers want to ask, you know. And when I was reading the blurb and everything, I was just, this is going on my TBR. And it's really it's really refreshing that, you know, you're not doing the whole jealousy and everything else, because there's so many books that have already done that. You know, and I think, you know, there are so many mature young adult readers now who have a more optimistic view of the world. They don't always want to read about jealousy and everything else.
Yeah, I mean, it's a natural human instinct and insecurity and all those things, and they come into play. And obviously, they are aware and care. They don't like it. But it's I think I really just wanted to portray healthy relationships as much as possible in like the way unhealthiest of environments, but just kind of point people, and especially young women, in that direction. You know, if he's trying to claim you, if he's trying to lock you into something, you know, make you make decisions, force you into a different direction, that's not love, because that's not what love does. And, you know, show that example. So
it's so exciting. It's so exciting. All right, I'm just going to quickly, before we start talking about what the book 2 that you're working on, we're just going to have a quick look. So T says, this is so great to have your favorite author up close and center. Mrs. Beth, please keep this up. It's working. Oh, thank you. Do you know what? I'm so thrilled that you're able to join me today, especially being late as well. I was late to your own party. Okay, Wanda says, we posted in the announcements after the interview, and then we keep it on the Writers Rock website. So yes, she's just reminded me to let everybody know that your interview will be on both groups and on the website. So if anybody's not watching this live, they can still watch it and ask questions. And I'm sure Tara will very kindly keep checking to make sure she answers any questions for you. Leslie Rush, she says, nice to see us. Hi, Leslie. I did Leslie's first interview when was it, Monday, and she was just as fantastic as you. So it's absolutely lovely. Sanjay says, I don't like reading, Beth, but listening like now. Now that's very interesting, actually, because that will bring me on to another question I wanted to ask you. obviously audiobooks are becoming huge right now. The market is exploding with audiobooks, and it's something that I'm sort of considering once I've got the funds. Is that something that you're thinking of doing as well?
Absolutely. And I've had people ask, even when it first came out, you know, in the other industry I work in, a lot of people travel a lot and are on the road a lot, or, well, not currently, but usually they're traveling. I really want to read it. I don't have time. I'd love it if you had an audiobook. So like you, it's definitely, you know, in the works, and I want to do it. I just have to do it right.
Yeah. And it's not as cheap and as easy as people think, is it?
No, it's not. No, it's, but one of the things I love about being indie and obviously respecting all sides of publishing is just learning about the other sides than just writing. And that's one of the things I've been researching and love learning about, but no, it's not quite time to do that yet. So
yeah, and it's tricky, especially when you still got kids at home, because all our effort and money tends to go on the kids and doesn't leave as much for ourselves, does it?
No, and there's a strange guilt associated with it. You know, you feel odd spending money on that when you should spend it on other things, but you recognize it as a business. But, you know, usually most often mothers are self-sacrificing, so you feel like you should push it to the side. And but then you want to set a good example, especially for me, for my daughter. And so yeah, it's an interesting mental juggling act on the regular to kind of find that balance.
It really, really is. And I think also it's important for us to take ourselves seriously, because once a book is published, it's out there. Mm-hmm. You know, it's, unless you pull it off the shelves, as it were, proverbially, unless you actually pull it, it's there forever. Mm-hmm. So I honestly think that as authors, we have to have the mentality of it's an investment. Mm-hmm. Because the longer it's out there, the bigger our following grows, the more readers we gain, the more people who are likely to buy our next book. And it is a long-term investment, isn't it? And I think, mm-hmm. you know, as you and I both know, nothing happens overnight unless you win the lottery. It takes daily self-promotion, getting our names out there, you know, constantly reminding people that we're here, and, you know, look at our books and everything else, and please leave a review, and, you know, and all those other things that we have to do on top of writing our books. But we do need to take ourselves seriously and take our business seriously, because we're all business owners. Once you're a self-published author, you run your own business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. There's so many facets. I can sit down and, you know, write a chapter, or I could spend 2 hours on social media just responding and talking about it. And, you know, yeah. I think it's important, though. I've met so many wonderful authors and made friends and have learned so much through those interactions. I don't know that I would have even come this far without making those connections, and now connecting with you and everybody through Writer's Rock. It's just, it's an integral part of the process that you don't think about early on. You're just writing and enjoying that part of it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think that level of support is so needed. Mm-hmm. You know, because it's such a roller coaster of a journey, isn't it? You know, I recently got 2 awful reviews.
Oh,
I know, it's like, but as you know, our books are never going to please everybody all at the time, especially if they're trying something new. They're either going to like it or not. And having that level of support, especially with other authors, as you said, within the Writer's Rock group. Wanda, she's my hero, bless her. She always cheers me up if I have a bad moment. But we do need that, don't we? And I think people don't realize how appreciative we are when we do get feedback messages, mm-hmm. book sale fees, all those things.
Yes.
Keep us going.
Yeah, I think a lot of times some readers don't realize that is what inspires us to keep writing in some regard, because while we love reading it ourselves, knowing that other people are interested in it kind of feeds that creative part of you. And
Yes.
I've had so many different responses to King Unveiled. It's I don't know if it's partly the love triangle, just the way it's set up with kind of some twists and turns and things that happen. I've had super strong reactions. People love it. People hate it. People love Bria. She chooses the wrong guy, so they hate her, but they're still glad they read it. And so one of I have a group on Twitter that I'm close with, and they always tell me, they're like, if you're inspiring some sort of reaction from people, that's the goal. You can't control what the reaction is, but elicited a reaction. So be proud of that fact. And, if you tried your best to have a high quality book, then that's all you can ask for. And it's hard because you want everyone to love it. But they don't always. And if you write for everybody, then it is bland and usually not the best work you could do.
Yeah. Now tell me, what do you think are your strong points as an author? I mean, obviously, you're a fantastic writer. Well, I already know that. So does everybody else now. But what are your strengths? What do you find are the easiest aspects to do with regards to, publishing, the marketing? What areas do you find easier?
I find when writing, I can tap into emotion pretty well, and I tend to be very character driven. My degrees in psychology, I love the way people think. I love, figuring them out, what would be true to them, what would be true to them as they grow, as opposed to what they did at the beginning, those kinds of things. And I think that relates to how I go through publishing and how I interact with people on social media. I tend to kind of be an optimistic realist. So I don't go so far that I'm up in dreamland, but I usually try to spin positive on social media. And I love snark and I love candor, but I just tend to be a little left of that and more positive, I guess. So kind of how I interact on social media, and you'll kind of see in my characters, they tend to do the same thing. I do have one side character in King Unveiled. It's Bria's best friend, Avery, and she tends to be a little more brash with her wording and how she approaches things. And she'll be book 4 in the series. She gets a prequel, and it'll be interesting writing as her. I'll have to tap into a different side of myself and everything. But yeah, I think that's my strength, is trying to find that positive, hanging on to it, whether it be as the characters or for myself, and the ability to keep going and actually doing it and publishing.
Yeah. And did you decide, as soon as you started writing, did you straight away decide to self-publish, or did you consider going through an agent? Or
initially I thought I would, but then I spent about a year querying and just learning. I was connected early on with an editor named Katie McCoach, and I now work with Kate Bronning, and Katie is amazing too. But Katie just encouraged me to find out more, learn more. And I actually on Twitter, which sounds strange, but you see all the hashtag and the pitch wars and all the things they do on there to try to garner an agent's interest. And participating in that, I really learned to hone down what the book was about, how to pitch it in a very few amount of characters. A lot of the blurb on the back of the book comes from pitch tweets that I did, and just in a strange way, it kind of honed my craft. And after doing all that, and I went to a few writers' conferences and met with a few authors, and I realized I really did want to stick with being indie, but I have a lot of respect for small publishers. Almost went with one of them, and then people that fight really hard and do backflips and turns in order to get an agent and to land at a big publishing company, because that is not easy. And
No.
yeah, I have a few friends that have gone that route, and they're wonderfully talented, and I watch them and all the hurdles they cross and things that they do. So, but it felt right for me. I've worked for an independent company for 15 years now, so it just felt more like home.
Yeah.
In India as well.
And that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, in publishing and writing books and getting them out there is no guarantee that your book is going to, you know, be the big one. You know, I mean, I've known and talked with authors who have found literary agents, but they couldn't find a publishing house who wanted it. Mm-hmm. So, you know, everybody's journey is so different.
Yeah.
You know, and I think nowadays the nice thing, and as you said, because I'm a very positive person like yourself, you know, even when you are self-published, you still have the same chance of being hugely successful. You only have to look at Andy Weir, who did The Martian. You know, he was self-published and his books took off, and, you know, he got signed by a big publishing house. Mm-hmm. You know, E.L. James with 50 Shades, that's started as fan fiction and just went viral. So you just never know, do you? But I do think a lot of it's down to our persistence and hard work and being on top of it and staying visible.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And putting out a product that you feel proud about and that you believe in. And because I think no matter, you know, there's, you know, big publishers and books that come out that way that are criticized, and, you know, indie authors are criticized, and the truth of the matter is what goes in the page you have to feel good and solid about.
Yeah,
like you said before, it's out there, it's not going anywhere, and you have to be able to stand behind it. And I feel like I did that. You know, obviously it's your first book. Did you get everything right? Is it perfect? You know, nobody will ever be able to do that because you're constantly learning. But I do out, you know, what I put out there. And I also have a novella called Beneath the Lights. That's a holiday novella, and I feel good about that one too. It's very Hallmark. It's very, you know,
feel good
and Christmas lights and all of those things. So, but you know, sometimes you need that. This tends to kind of torture you. So I wanted a little bit of a balm and kind of soothing.
You're so awesome. Now, Sanjay, unfortunately, because Sanjay's in the UK, it's already coming up to midnight his end, so he's just saying good night, and it's nice to see us both. So thank you, Sanjay. Thank you, darling. I hope he catches the next one. It's really tough, Tara, trying to find a time that still catches people in Europe.
Yes.
But still, you know, that's why I settled on 3 o'clock on my interviews, because I try and please everybody. We've just got some more comments before we talk about your other book. Let me just would help if I actually use my mouse. Look, oh my gosh, I'm so terrible with technology. Okay, let's have a look at some of the comments. Let's have a look. Oh, we answered that one about the audiobooks. So I think Sanjay should have a go at the audiobooks maybe, because he might enjoy listening.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're pretty huge now. Sanjay said, say hello to Ian, my husband, because they're actually friends.
Oh, lovely.
I will pass that on, Sanjay. Leslie wants to know, what is the lovely piece behind you? Is it a writing desk?
Oh, it's actually my dresser.
It's very nice. Oh yeah, I can see the drawers now. I couldn't put them out before.
Yeah, there's a local furniture store we love, and when we moved into this home several years ago, we found that, and I do. It's a beautiful piece. So thank you. I'm glad you like it.
It's beautiful. I'll tell you, honestly, well spotted, Leslie. I was so busy looking at Tara. I was admiring the pink flowers, but that is beautiful. I love the twisted sides. It's very nice. Well spotted, Leslie. She's got eyes of a hawk. Okay, so T says, hi, T. Hi T does very, very good inspirational videos. I mentioned them last when I was on with Leslie. Actually, they're very inspirational. He was saying about having enough money and stuff. That's why we all need another stream of income. The more money, the merrier. Do you know, that's so true, isn't it? Because I mean, I think a lot of us authors are trying to juggle work, writing, and everything else. And I think there's never enough money. It's always going to be a case of trying to find the money to do the book covers and get your editing done and everything else. People don't, I don't think there's so many things that you have to spend money on that people don't realize.
Yeah, there's so many different components, and you know, I think it's important to do your research, find who you're comfortable with, and find who you communicate with. So when you're spending the money, you feel solid.
Yeah.
Like early on, it's so easy to just like jump and you get excited and you meet one person and they do the thing you need and you just go for it. And then, you know, they could be a wonderful person, but your work behaviors have to kind of line up too, and your expectations and everything. And they could be really nice and it might not work and you've spent the money and you don't have the money anymore. So
yeah. I think it's also important, and I'm sure you probably agree. I think to find the best people for the job is definitely listening to people's recommendations. But before we actually spend the money, check out work that they've already done. So, you know, if an author has had a book edited by a particular editor, check out the reviews for the book first. Because if it's saying love the book but terrible grammar mistakes and everything else, then that speaks volumes for the editor who did the work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what I needed, which Kate Brawning, who's my editor that worked with me on King Unveiled and Beneath the Lights, she has a way of pushing me because I tend to kind of dig my heels in a little bit on a premise or a thought process or even the wording of a sentence. And she has a way of challenging me to rethink it without losing a supportive angle, which has kind of helped me grow as an author. And I really appreciate that because I've had others, you know, make suggestions and things. And I don't know if it's because it was the wrong time or I hadn't learned enough yet, but I just wasn't quite as receptive to it. And for whatever reason, the way she words things, I was like, I see the light. I see what you're talking about. Thank you so much. And we just clicked. So, and I think you have to know that. I spoke about one time editors and agents in general, and that whole process. It's almost like dating, or even like when all the pitch. It's like speed dating, and you're just like trying to impress the person, and it's quick as possible. But you don't really know them, and you don't really know, you know, what they're going to be like long term, and what it's going to be like living with them and dating them and being married to them and all those things. So, you know, once you're into a book, especially, you know, King Unveiled isn't short. So, you know, you have to know them to move forward and really trust that process. And I dated a lot.
Yeah, I agree with you. It really is, isn't it? And I got to tell you, sometimes I felt like I was just massaging their ego. Do you know what I mean? It's like
I think what I found in people that are kind and receptive and successful and humble, you learn the most from them. You know, I met with an author and business owner named Danica Winters. She's poured a lot just into encouragement in me, and then my other author friends, Coralie Moss, Mika James, just a whole bunch of other people that just want to give and want to share and want to teach and want to support. And anybody that has an ego in this industry, I feel like I don't know how they survive. Honestly, it just is. I guess maybe I don't connect with them, so I don't know their story enough. But yeah, I connect with all very humble, eager to help, eager to teach and learn.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, because I find self-promotion quite hard because I'm so down to earth. And I think that's one of the hardest things, especially as so many of us are introverts. I'm not, I'm an extrovert, but to sell my book and brag about it, I find very difficult because I'm not that type of person. It goes against my nature, but it's something that we have to learn to do, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm great at selling other people. I'm odd with selling myself. And I actually, you'll find on my social media, I have my Taralynn Moore author, which I started first and it has more followers and things. But I have Beach Cove Books where I run a lot of my ads and promos through, because that was my imprint and it is my imprint. Because I couldn't picture myself running ads with my name attached to it for some reason. It didn't click with me, and I knew I'd be more consistent and persistent if it was coming from the imprint.
Yes.
And, I do, personal thoughts and posts and things on my author one, and I do promos, but if I want to like push an ad or do something big, I jump over to that one. It's just kind of what happens, I guess, compartmentalize it.
It's a good way of doing it, and I don't know whether you've actually seen or not, but on the Writers Rock group, I set up an author boost. Did you see that? Yeah.
I put both King Unveiled and Beneath the Lights in there.
And
fantastic. I fully add their books in the different categories, and you let me set up a holiday category, I think.
That's right. I did. Because there's so many of us, there's so many authors who feel the same way. They feel uncomfortable trying to share and promote their own books. So I thought maybe if I create albums where they can share their book cover and their information, and then we can all share each other's. It gets rid of that uncomfortable feeling, and you're helping other people and they're helping you, and it's like you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. So and it seems to be working quite well. I need to check actually and keep tabs on everybody, because people keep forgetting to put on their, underneath the pictures, shared. Just so everybody knows that each other's doing it. So I might have to start getting my whip out, Tara. So I'm just going to quickly check again for the comments. Bear with me. Oh, we've got thumbs up from T. Okay, T says, what's the best marketing company to use to take the guesswork out of it, to read and rely on crowds of people? That's a tough one, I think, because as we are both self-published, we tend to do the majority of everything ourselves, don't we? And I don't know about you, Tara, but a couple of times I've looked into an independent company who said, I pay us so and so amount of money, and we'll share on all this on Facebook and everything else. When I've actually looked and searched for them on all the social media platforms and everywhere else, all they've done is share to all the free groups that I would do anyway. Yes. But they're going to charge me £200 or £300 for the pleasure.
One of my friends, author Amelia Foster, she works with a group called, I believe, forgive me if I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, I'll post in the comments below later. Happily Ever After.
Oh, okay.
She's done promotions with them, and they've gone well for her, and has been successful with that. I haven't completely gone into that yet, just because I'm waiting till I have more books under my belt and more things. I've tried Facebook ads and played around with that a lot, and Twitter sharing and all of that kind of stuff. But kind of the biggest bump in exposure I've had is by going to books on Amazon or Goodreads that are like your book, and reaching out to bloggers and reaching out to people that would love your genre and would love your type of book because they love something similar.
Yes.
And if I send you a copy, would you read it? And no pressure, no expectation, no demands, or you're absolutely going to love it because, but just being honest and saying, if you, there's one review, and she was wonderful. But I sent her a book and I said, if you love Shatter Me, you'll love my book. And she even commented in there, she was like, I was like, really, you're going to compare yourself to Shatter Me? Which was definitely an overstatement on my part at the time, but thankfully she liked it and left a good review. But that's been the biggest, is reaching out to people, and they have a reach, and when they blog about it and they share about it, then it kind of gets the word out, and being pleased with a few responses and then a few more, and not calling it a failure just because 50 people didn't participate. The other thing that I have found is, I'm trying to remember the name of it. Oh, my brain is fried. Right. Writer Space.
Oh.
Danica Winters connected me with Writer Space, and they do a lot of promotions. They set up my giveaway on my website for me. I send them all the information for my newsletter, and they put it together and put it out for me in a beautiful format that I love. And they have different packages in different categories, but I wasn't ever going to do a newsletter, and finally decided to jump into it in December. And I think I probably have, I'm probably going to guess here, but 4,000 people at this point signed up, which is
wow.
Because all my friends that have done it for much longer haven't been able to, get quite that many yet. But I'm still kind of developing the newsletter and doing interviews and stuff. But I would suggest Writer Space, Happily Ever After. Those seem to be good investments at this point.
Fantastic. Now, have you ever tried a Goodreads giveaway?
I have my Goodreads page. I checked it out, but I haven't actually done one yet.
No, I've been meaning to sort of talk to authors in general about it, because I did try it.
Mm-hmm.
And I did a giveaway of 100 ebooks.
Wow.
And yeah, and so I mean, I had the sense to reduce the price to 99 cents before I did it, obviously.
Fair wise.
Yeah, to try and maximize as much as I could. But having said that, I literally got such a small return, as in reviews. Very, very small return. And like you, all my reviews are genuine, good and bad. So even, I get it's people love it or hate it. They're either going to say, yes, I absolutely love it, blah, blah, and or you get the odd one that's like, yeah. But I got such a small return. The only positive of doing it, and I'm going to tell you as well as everybody else, because I'm not sure how many people know, and I never assume everybody knows something, because people miss out that way. The one benefit of doing it was that anybody who wanted to try and win, automatically your book went on their TBR list.
That's nice.
Automatically. So that was way more than 100 people.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously it was just 100 winners, but loads and way more than that actually applied. So my book is all on their TBR list on Goodreads, so everybody else is seeing it. And if they followed me on Amazon, which is part of the condition, they automatically follow you on Amazon. Now I'm getting ready to release my third book. All those people are getting emails saying Beth Worsdell's publishing another book.
Nice. Yeah.
So even though it didn't give me a massive return on reviews, it still only cost me $100. I got my book on loads of people's TBR lists on Goodreads, and I got hundreds of people following me on Amazon who are now getting emails about my upcoming book.
That's a great return on
So exactly. So I think sometimes we forget to look at the bigger picture. And I think definitely I would do it again because it was worth that $100.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I know when I played around with Facebook ads, and I can't remember the exact number, so I'm probably going to get it completely wrong. But I heard something about, in general, people have to see or hear about something new like 30 times or a large amount of times before they actually take action. Or even if it catches their attention, they're not going to do anything about it until they more and more. So every time I send it out there, and maybe I'll get a few buys, maybe I'll get a few bumps, maybe I'll get a few reviews. I just remember, well, that's one of 30. Somebody saw it one of those times, and just remind yourself, the big publishers, they can do it all at once, and they completely blast everywhere, so they're getting all of that exposure those 30 times. And as an indie, if you don't have that funding, you have to find new ways or just be more patient till they kind of hear more and more about it, and staying true to your branding, and so you're recognizable when they see an image, that reminds me of this author or this person.
Yeah, absolutely. And interestingly enough, I've just had a little play around with Amazon ads, and I'm really, really pleased with it as well. Have you ever tried doing the Amazon ads?
I did one when Unveiled first released, but I've been studying up on how to really hit it hard once I get Abdication, which is book 2, out, and just kind of do a big push. I'm kind of hesitant until I get my date more firm since I've had to push my release date. I don't, want to set people's expectations up for disappointment after advertising book 1.
Well, just so you and everybody else knows, because this is stuff that I've only just recently discovered, you can pretty much have as many keywords for your ads as you want.
Okay.
Including other authors' names of the same genre.
Okay.
Which is very interesting. But also you can set your budget to either go up and down, so you're competing against other people's ads, or just up, or you can tailor it completely. The one thing that I loved is that you only pay per click if somebody actually clicks on it.
Okay.
Now, I've soon realized, because obviously I'm just about to publish book 3, and I've just done a week advertising book 2. But because I was actually advertising book 2 and people were seeing that it was book 2, rather than clicking on it, they were buying book 1, and I wasn't having to pay for the click because they were buying book 1 first.
That worked definitely to your favor, didn't it?
So if any of you guys have got, a series of books, advertise the middle ones, because the people generally want to read your books from book 1.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that way you're not paying per click on the one that you're advertising, but it's still drawing people to your first book.
That was a happy accident, wasn't it?
It was. It'd be worth you remembering that once book 2's released. So how far along are you with book 2 then? And are you writing the same way as you did with book 1, or has your process changed a little bit?
I thought it was going to change, and I tried to get it to change, and definitely plotted and thought about things more and laid it all out there. And I realized doing it more organically is what I need. I tend to be kind of more of purple prose lyrical in my writing, and when I try to think too much about where it's headed instead of just writing in that moment, it's short and itchy, and I don't really enjoy the flow. And then the characters talk to you and send you in another direction, and I'm like, it's not your turn yet, you need to wait your turn. But they don't, and that's fine. Interesting like moments, you know, where things kind of come together in a kismet way happen when you're not thinking about it and you're just kind of letting it write and come together. And there's a lot of plot weaves and threads in Unveiled, and I thought I understood them all. And then as you go into book 2, I'm sure you know, you find, okay, you thought this one was going to weave this way and it's going a different way, and you kind of have to find the new pattern. And I don't ever want to close myself off to something unexpected, even for me, that would be really cool for someone to read. So there's been a few things. I'm glad I'm taking my time with it, that I realized I hadn't included in my first few passes that I needed to have in there. So it's a good thing. I feel solid about like the first half, and it's the back end now that I'm kind of zeroing in on. And it should be by this fall that it finally gets out into the world, and I feel good about it. But I had health stuff last year, and now all the COVID crazy stuff going on, I just kind of had to not lose my sanity over it, because it's not worth it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And it's really funny because you're an author after my own heart. With book 1, I just went with the flow because I was learning as I was going. I had no clue. With book 2, I tried to plot out what each chapter was going to be and what it was going to be about. And you're right, our characters have complete independent minds of their own.
They do. It sounds crazy, but they do. They do.
It's mental, and so I very quickly gave up trying to stick to my plan, because like you, I find it so much easier just to go with the flow and then really edit and add stuff once I've done my first draft.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of have to write, and then I rewind a little bit and read and edit, not a big edit, but just a little bit, and move forward, because I admire people that can just jump in and keep going, but it affects the pacing and the flow for me. And I'll go back and I'm like, that transition was not the best, and that's because you didn't, rewind and keep going. So but yeah, definitely going through, definitely kind of trying to get all the ideas out on paper. Like you said, trying to pre-plot is not my friend. It doesn't work for me. So lesson learned.
Yeah, and I think the main thing that everybody remembers, because obviously we've got a lot of authors that are watching and joining in. Everybody works differently. That's the thing, isn't it? There's no right or wrong way to write a book. It is so individual. Some people do, some people just go with the flow completely, like I do now, and obviously you do. Some people are avid plotters to the point where it's precision plotted. And yet other authors are able to do a little bit of both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, in fairness, I probably settle into that a little bit more. I mean, I have 5 books in the series planned. I know key points. I have scenes for each of them kind of jotted down. But they're very generalized.
Yes.
And I actually tend to plot by playlist. So I hear songs and they give me an idea for a scene, and I'll put them in order. And then I just listen to them, and it kind of puts me in the mindset for that scene. But then I'll hear something else and I'm like, oh, that needs to go there. And then when I'm writing, something else comes up and that scene exists. I just have to figure out why it came to me and where it lands in the book. I don't necessarily have a specific spot for it always when it comes. So I guess I'm a combination.
Yeah, I know exactly what we mean. I think it's, it's each to our own, and finding our own way of working, isn't it? And like you, I struggle with time to write. And when my daughter was at school, I don't know what programs you use. You'll have to tell us in a minute. But I swear by Google Documents. I love Google Documents. Mm-hmm. And Word, Microsoft Word is becoming just as easy to use. So I literally would be on my laptop at home, then be sat in the car waiting for her to come out of school. So I'd be on my phone or on my iPad in the car carrying on. And then when I got home, I would pick up where I left off. And like you, I'll be then on the 2 and 3 in the morning on the laptop at night when everyone's in bed.
Yeah, I use Word. I've used Google Documents before, but I tend to just go back to Word. And then I also swear by Voice Stream because I do a ton on my phone. I actually do most of my writing on my laptop, but I do a lot of my editing notes and things on my phone because I can listen to it while I'm cleaning. I can listen to it while I'm doing laundry. And after you've read it and written it so much, you tend to see the expectation of what you meant to say instead of what it actually says.
I agree.
Or word order or things like that. So when you hear it and you hear like a glitch and you're like, that's not what that's supposed to say, you know, I quickly shift over, I make a note, I keep folding laundry, and then when I sit back down on my laptop, I go and I fix that part, and then I keep going. So that's been a key part for me. And then it also helps me with the rhythm and the flow of the words and the flow of the book. And I know when I hear something, it's so weird because it's a book, but when I hear something off, I'm like, that's not me. I have to go back and look at it and figure out why. Maybe it's a good audiobook someday, but
it's a very good tip. And I must admit, it's something that I do as well. I listen to my work on Microsoft Word, and you're right. As soon as you hear a comma in the wrong place,
mm-hmm.
or something, or you know, it does make a difference, and you do pick it up. And I also change devices when I'm editing as well. So I will edit on one device and then I'll reread it and do another edit on a different device, because just changing the screen and the way it's laid out can actually help errors pop out more, can't they?
It triggers something for you a little bit differently.
Yeah.
The sun is beaming in on us.
You just look like you're glowing. You look absolutely gorgeous. Okay, we've got some questions, so I'm going to finish off with some questions for our viewers. Oh my gosh, there's more questions on here than I realised. Bear with me. Starla says the aspect of juggling author responsibilities and life is very challenging. I've got to tell you, Starla says that, but Starla makes it look very easy. Her and Wanda are amazing. They're like forces of nature.
Brighter gold.
Yeah. They are amazing. T says it's beautiful, so loves your book. Okay, T says, how do you balance co-writing? Have you ever done like a co-written piece of work?
I attempted to at one point and kind of started brainstorming with somebody, and we weren't able to find the time because she's also a mom to figure it out. TK Barber, she's another wonderful author. And so I haven't, but the authors I mentioned earlier, Amelia Foster, she co-wrote with Deanna Birch, and they kind of traded chapters and went forth, and they made it work beautifully.
Wow.
She tends to be puppies and love and all of those wonderful things, and not that she's not multi-talented and can write anything. And then Deanna tends to be a little bit more like that snark we were talking about, and like kind of in your face, and I love her stuff too. And so they really had a beautiful balance together. But I haven't been able to, and I think right now trying to balance my world, my life, and somebody else's might be overwhelming, but I would love to try it at some point.
I must admit, I recently took part in my first anthology, So it wasn't sort of co-writing with people, but I had the pleasure to actually submit a short story that's going to be put with lots of other stories by all these amazing authors. And I would definitely recommend anybody do that, because it was such a good experience. I mean, obviously you work with very talented editors and everything. I've had to find my editors and trying to find ones that I could afford. So actually doing the anthology and working with a publishing house and their editors was such a big learning curve for me.
Oh, that's awesome that you got to do that.
Yeah.
I think the more editors you have and the more people, it's hard because sometimes it's information overload and it kind of overwhelms you and you don't know which way to go when you have too much feedback. But when you're ready for it and you know it's good experience and good people to listen to, you can learn so much that I think that would be invaluable. That's good that you got to have that experience.
It really was. And it taught me things that I didn't even expect, Tara, such as if I'm doing an active scene, to make sure I change the words to active words. So instead of saying something like, you know, I mean, obviously I'm English as well, so I write how I tend to talk, but he stood at the window and gave me a scowling stare, you know. Instead of doing that sort of thing, change it to a more active scene. So he was standing at the window, comma, turning to give me a glowering stare. Just changing the words to active words, basically ending in ing, completely took things up a notch.
Yeah.
But that's not something I'd ever thought of before.
I kind of played around with that in King Unveiled a little bit. In people are receptive, it kind of works where, you know, there's scenes where I pull back and it's very purple prose and kind of almost fantasy-like and longer sentences and things like that. And then when it's time for an action or like an in-depth moment, I kind of zoom in. And I know that's a weird way to say it, but with my words, they tend to zone and focus more. So the sentences are shorter, more clipped. The pace gets a little bit faster because of that.
Yeah.
And the moment, I think it helps the moment kind of build. And then when that's done and I want them to catch a breath, I pull back out again and lengthen the sentences. And you kind of control the tempo and flow of scenes, moments, the book, your chapters, everything. And I think that's awesome that you got to have that experience.
It really taught me a lot. And do you know what? I learned just as much from talking to fabulous authors like you as well. You know, every day I learn something new. And I think that's such a good thing, because I think if you're always learning, you're always improving.
Absolutely. One I mentioned Shatter Me earlier, but one of the reasons I had kind of mentioned it to the bloggers and kind of like tied myself to it a little bit. I'm not saying I'm Tahara Mafi because she's amazing, but she played around with her sentence structure, and she played around with her wording and pacing and tempo, and kind of broke the rules a little bit. And I felt like it gave me permission to do that more than I felt like I had before, especially when you're new and you're trying to start out and you're trying to do all the things they tell you to do, and you're trying to tick all the boxes and fit into the categories and do the right thing and the right way, but still be you, have your voice, but don't be too different. And you have all of this, and then you start to lose yourself and you kind of become muddied. And so what really jumped out with me, especially in that first book, is that she just broke all the rules.
Yeah.
Thought, you know, not that I'm her, not that I'm gonna have her level of success, but if I have an instinct and it feels true to me, and some people respond to it, maybe not all people, then follow that and be true, learn, grow, you know, change what's needed, but don't shy away from it too much and try to be somebody you're not, because that's your voice as an author. And I hope to carry that into my other books. I ended up writing Beneath the Lights because I needed to know that the way I wrote King Unveiled was a purpose and not just a crutch, and not just because I was resistant to being more like standard with the way I presented the text. There's just a few things that are different. And Beneath the Lights is far more contemporary and typical, and it's wonderful. I love it. But I was like, okay, then I did this on purpose. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't because I was being stubborn. And so then it felt even better about, the way I presented it, and then following through that into the other books. So sorry, that was kind of a long ramble.
No, do you know what? It's all so valuable, because I think we all need to be reminded that we write our books for ourselves first, because they're part of us. However you cut it, they're from our hearts and souls. And we do need to be true to ourselves, because I think that if we're not happy with our books ourselves, we're not going to put in the effort that's needed to make them successful, are we?
No, and there's such a balance between learning from those that have done it and done it well and been successful and know how things sell and know how things move and know what readers' expectations are, because that's so valuable and important. But also remembering who you are as a reader and holding on to that, because it's so easy to lose sight of it, and then you just end up chasing your tail and enjoying nothing. And you can write and you can pump out books just to get them out there, and some people are so talented they can do that and they're still wonderful books. I don't mean to imply they can't, but if you're not made that way creatively, I think you suffer as a person. And if there's got to be a way to balance both. There's got to be a way to still be you, still, learn and hold on to what you wanted in the beginning and what you know to be truth now. Kind of.
Yeah. I completely agree. And I've got to be honest with you, as your kids get older and they go out more, it's a lot easier to get more writing done. Kim has joined us as well. Hi, Kim.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us, Kim. She's a fantastic author as well. Okay, Wanda says to share any links underneath. T says, don't let procrastination kill your dreams. Absolutely, I agree with that. Wanda says you should start with a minimum of 50 keywords when purchasing an ad. That is good advice. And you also need to, when this is obviously for anybody who's watching, and I'm sure Tara will agree, having the right keywords is the most important thing. Having the right ones. Research. As Tara said, if your book is very similar to another book, then use that as an example and investigate what keywords will bring that other book up. Have a look on Amazon and see what their book is, what the grouping is underneath, and all that sort of stuff. But it does take time and research. But if you do it and it works, it is well worth it. Okay, Wanda says she watches an educational YouTube video today about Amazon ads. Maybe Wanda can share that, because I have seen the one she's talking about, and it's very interesting. I
think making sure in the ads to set up your reader expectations. So like you were saying, if you trigger words that are going to get a lot of results just because they're popular, that's awesome. But if the readers of that book won't like your book, then you're either being ineffective or you're going to get poorer reviews than you should, because that's.
Yeah, absolutely. Relevance is absolutely key, I think, because you're absolutely right. If your book is more sci-fi, and then you're tagging everything related to do with Stephanie Meyer, that's not going to work.
Right.
Because they're going to be expecting glittery vampires and God knows what else. Tara, you have been an absolute joy to talk to, and I can't believe it's been over an hour and it's just whizzed by. Isn't that crazy? Mm-hmm. Would you please come back and do another interview once you got book 2 coming out?
I would absolutely love it. Yes.
Because I would love to find out how your publishing journey compares for book 1 and book 2, because I know mine was very different. And I'm so super excited for you. And obviously a lot can happen between now and then. So would that be all right if you come back and join us again?
Absolutely. I would love it. This is you doing this with me for sure.
Do you know what? I've loved every minute. And you can tell that I'm genuine because the time's just gone like that.
On a saying in Texas.
I know. Thank you so much, darling. As I said, if anybody who's watching right now who couldn't see it live wants to ask Taralynn anything, please leave it in the comments and Tara can check and answer. Please tag her name when you ask her question, because this will be shared on multiple places. And if you don't tag her, she's not going to know where your question is. It's going to be in a number of different places. So please tag her and ask her questions. She'll be keeping tabs on everything. Thank you so much to everybody who joined in and asked Taralynn questions. We love hearing from you all and truly appreciate you. And check out Tara's fantastic book. If you can hold it up again for us, Tara. There we go. Check it out. Make sure you leave Tara a review, please, because Amazon reviews are so important. It's what helps us authors get noticed. So please make sure you do that. And I will repost Tara's links underneath so everybody can find you and your fantastic book. Thank you, my darling. And hopefully we will catch up with you again soon.
Okay, absolutely. Thank you so much.
See you soon, darling. Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. We've got some more author interviews coming up, so please make sure you keep tabs on all the events. I'm trying to share them on both my pages and the Writers Rock group. They don't always link up, so check in both places. And thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.